Good evening, everybody in the audience and those watching at home. Welcome to the September version of the Manitowoc County Board of Seating. First up will be Invocation by Supervisor Sikowitz, followed by a Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. If everybody would please rise.
Dear Lord, we ask you to help this elected Board of Supervisors to use their combined intelligence and common sense when making decisions affecting the citizens of our county. We also ask you to keep all our citizens safe and healthy in these hard and difficult times. We ask you this through your Son, our Lord, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Supervisor Sikowitz. Roll call is going around. 22 members are present this evening. Supervisors Linsmeyer, Niles, and Zimmer are excused. Next up is consideration and correction of our minutes from our August 17, 2021 meeting. Motion by Supervisor Banky, second by Supervisor Aulick to approve those minutes. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried and the minutes are approved. There are no additions or deletions to the agenda, correct? All right, we're moving quickly here. So if Bob could join me at the podium, we're going to have two proclamations first. Neil, if you want to come on up with your group, that'd be great. We'll go with you first. All right, first up, we have a proclamation honoring 4-H Week. Whereas 4-H is one of the largest youth organizations in the United States, with more than 6 million youth involved in 4-H nationwide, and with 22,264 youth 4-H members and 7,993 youth and adult volunteers in Wisconsin, and 297 youth 4-H members and 63 volunteers in Manitowoc County. And whereas 4-H is where young people will explore, learn, and discover in a safe environment and find their true passions, gain confidence, and give back to the community. Whereas 4-H has been helping youth and adults learn, grow, and work together for more than 100 years and provides a community where young people learn leadership, citizenship, and life at County and the University of Wisconsin-Madison Division of Extension.
Hello everyone, my name is Neil Hall. I'm the new 4-H program educator here in Manitowoc County. I've been in the position for about just a little over a month. So started off hard with the county fair, battled with Mr. Bry here, and in the cream puff eating contest, and that was a lot of fun. But so I'm really thankful for the opportunity to serve in my hometown, my home county of Manitowoc, and I think looking forward to just helping better the lives of youth and families in our area. So I look forward to getting to know and meeting many of you. And at this point, I'd like to, though, turn it over to Amelia Hansen. Amelia is a senior at Lutheran High School here in town and a longtime 4-H member, and may look familiar to some of you. She has spoken up front here before, but has some new news to share, and really proud of what she's doing as a representative of Manitowoc County. So, Amelia?
Okay. So my name is Amelia Hansen. I'm a senior at Manitowoc Lutheran High School. I have been a member of Tannery Stars 4-H since I was in kindergarten, which is about 13 years now. 4-H has been a big part of my life, and it's given me many opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. I've had many I have had many leadership opportunities, including serving 4 years on the Manitowoc County 4-H Horse Committee Board and 2 years on the Manitowoc County 4-H Leaders Association Board. In the last few years, I have also been able to attend Youth Conference in Madison and participate in the American Spirit Experience. On the American Spirit trip, I was able to see and learn about many historical sites along the East Coast. This year, I will also be going to a National 4-H Congress in Atlanta. Some of the best things 4-H has introduced me to are both horses and alpacas. Through the 4-H Horseless Horse program, I was able to show horses at county fair even when I didn't have any of my own. I was taught not only how to ride and how to show, but also the amount of patience, commitment, and hard work it takes to care for and own horses. Now 8 years later, I am still working with horses and have even bought one of my own. In the last 2 years, I've been able to help train and show alpacas. I've also been able to work on the same alpaca farm for the past 3 years, which is where I came from tonight. Now 8 years later, I'm still working without 4-H, I wouldn't have had that pathway to love of horses and alpacas. I wouldn't have been taught the same appreciation and care of animals. Most of all, I wouldn't have had that constant reminder to be patient and to work hard, even if I wasn't seeing the immediate results that I wanted. 4-H has become more than just a fun thing I do. It has shaped my life and helped me to grow as a person. 4-H has been such a big part of my life that I can't imagine my life without it.
Thank you very much, Amelia. That's great. And good luck to your senior year. You'll be graduating next spring. Congratulations. Good luck. We wish you nothing but the best. And thank you for your participation in 4-H. And Neil, welcome back to Manitowoc. And we appreciate your diligence and your duty, I guess, in a sense, to work with 4-H, because it is a great organization. I've seen a lot of great people come up here over the years. So thank you very much once again. Next, if I could have Sheriff Dan Hartwig come up to the podium. We have a proclamation proclaiming a 2021 Crime Prevention Month in October. Whereas the vitality of Manitowoc County, Wisconsin depends on how safe we keep our homes, neighborhoods, schools, workplaces, and community. And whereas crime and the fear of crime destroy our trust in others and in civic institutions, threatening Manitowoc County citizens' health, prosperity, and quality of life. And whereas people of all ages must be aware of what they can do to prevent themselves and their families, neighbors, and coworkers from being harmed by crime. And whereas people of all ages must be made aware of the dangers of technology crime and how they can protect themselves from becoming victims. And whereas the personal injury, financial loss, and community deterioration resulting from crime are intolerable and require investment from the whole community. And whereas crime prevention initiatives must include self-protection and security, but they must go beyond these to promote collaborative efforts to make neighborhoods safer for all ages and to develop positive opportunities for young people. And whereas adults must invest time, resources, and policy support in effective prevention and intervention strategies for youth, and teens must be engaged in driving crime from the County of Manitowoc. And whereas effective crime prevention programs excel because of partnerships among law enforcement, other government agencies, civic groups, schools, faith communities, businesses, and individuals as they help nurture communal responsibility and instill pride. Now, therefore, we, Bob Ziegelbauer, Manitowoc County Executive, and Jim Bry, Manitowoc County Board Chair, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim October 2021 as Crime Prevention Month in Manitowoc County, and urge all citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, and businesses to invest in the power of prevention and work together to make Manitowoc County a safer, stronger, and more caring community. Sheriff, thank you very much for all your hard work and everything.
It's my third year coming here for the meeting in September, and time seems to be flying, but it's always a pleasure to come before our county board. So on behalf of the Sheriff's Office and your constituents here in Manitowoc County, I'd like to thank you, Chairman Bry, Executive Ziegelbauer, and distinguished members of the Manitowoc County Board for recognizing crime prevention as a priority in our community in October, but not only in October, every single day. Now, we have several crime prevention programs at the Sheriff's Office and amongst our local municipal agencies, but when a community puts its foot down that it will not tolerate crime, it can have an even larger effect than even what law enforcement can do. Some examples of some crime prevention initiatives that we have are Neighborhood Watch, DARE, targeting our young children, SEPTED, which is crime prevention through environmental design, and also expanding out into different types of technology, such as P3 through Crime Stoppers, which is enhancing our citizens' ability to contact law enforcement and report crimes. So crime can affect anyone at any time, and the best prevention is a community that is entrusted and trusting in their law enforcement officers and working in a collaborative effort with our community to combat crime. So thank you for the opportunity, and thank you for the support that you continue to give our law enforcement agency, and we will continue to work in collaboration with our community to make Manitowoc County a great place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff, and all your employees, and I guess all law enforcement across Manitowoc County, because I certainly feel safe when I go home at night, and I think all of us should be. And there are problems, but they certainly can protect us, and they certainly work through those problems. So thank you once again. Quickly, myself, I'm going to give a presentation of items for the 2022 County Board budget. Generally, I've already submitted the budget to the Finance Director's office now. I'm sure Bob has it and is starting to work on that portion. There hasn't been many changes from the County Board portion about it, but I just wanted to give a heads up, I guess, regarding next year. We received information earlier this summer that our roll call pro system, I guess voting system, is going to be essentially extinct. It's going to go out of business. Is that a good way of putting it, Jessica? They were bought out, but I was under the impression it's going to change basically. So we have to be aware of what's going on there. I know Bob knows about that, and other people know about it as well. So there has been, IT has been working on it, and some suggestions that might be potentially going on, of potentially having iPads and things like that. I just wanted everybody's mind, because even though it won't be in this portion of the budget, I'm sure we're going to be discussing this some of the time next year to look at that. So does anybody have any questions? Like I said, it was short. It was the other portion of the budget really didn't change. It's just same as ever was. So. All right, thank you very much. We'll continue on. All right, we're going to start public comment, and we're going to have a presentation first under public comment from Amber Dogs and Chrisma Rush, a presentation on Grow It Forward and Hunger Housing Coalition here in Manitowoc County. Welcome, Amber and Chrisma. The mic should be on, and you can start whenever you're ready.
Do we have control of the laptop and stuff?
I believe so.
Okay, I'm just going to test this real quick. Oh, yeah. Okay, so my name is Amber Dogs, and I am the CEO and founder of Grow It Forward, Inc. We've been a nonprofit in Manitowoc County for over 7 years now, and I'm also a board member for Hope House here in Manitowoc County. And recently our Hunger and Housing Coalition has been coming together, looking at specifically the American Rescue Plan dollars and how our county can help leverage nonprofits in our community in a collaborative way. And we do have examples from other counties on how they are utilizing the dollars that were given from the government to help transform their communities and help raise up their county as a whole. So I'm going to start by the presentation, and then Chrisma's going to be sharing a little bit of her experience as well in our community right now. So throughout the pandemic, a number of our social organizations have been addressing a variety of issues that our county is facing in regards to the response to COVID-19. And specifically over the past few months, our separate coalitions decided to come together to work on not only working towards ending our future hunger and housing concerns, but working in a strategic way to end future hunger as well as develop stable housing and shelter solutions in our county. These coalitions in the combined effort include Lakeshore CAP, the United Way of Manitowoc County, First Presbyterian Church, Salvation Army, Hope House, The Haven, Encourage Like House Recovery Community Center, as well as Grow It Forward. Now, in the separate housing and hunger coalitions, there are other members who participate. but the joint effort represents these organizations. As nonprofits together, we believe that collaboration is key and that a collaborative approach ensures a larger impact for Manitowoc County. We are in the beginning stages of looking at what this collaboration could look like long term. And there are multiple phases that we have identified to address some solutions to issues that our county currently faces. To give you an idea about the current picture in Manitowoc County, right now there are nearly 9,000 Manitowoc County residents that are facing food insecurity. This is 11% of our county here, a 50% increase from pre-pandemic numbers. And just to give you an idea, pre-pandemic, the annual budget shortfall for individuals who are food insecure was a little over $3.7 million. What this means to our specific economy is that if individuals had their food budget met in our county, that would equate to about a $6.2 million impact. $6.2 million. Every dollar that is spent in our county on food share, for example, equates to a $1.67 return on our economic impact here in Manitowoc County. So we're looking at ways to invest in our future. Right now, 15% of those who are food insecure in Manitowoc County are youth. 51% of Manitowoc Public School District is actually eligible for free or reduced meals. And why this is really important to focus on our future and invest in our future, especially with children and addressing hunger with children, is that according to a study that was conducted by ConAgra, hungry children have more social and behavioral problems. And what this means as adults is that adult workers who experience hunger as children are not only not well prepared for the workforce physically, mentally, or emotionally, but they also perform less than others who have been food secure in their household. This creates, honestly, a workforce that has lower technical skills. So there are a lot of issues that are regarding housing right now in our community. On one night in July of 2021, there were 66 individuals that were literally homeless in Manitowoc. And this is according to a count that is conducted by going out into our parks and other areas to find out who is literally living without shelter. So 5 individuals were unhoused. 18 of these individuals were staying at local shelters. 17 households consisting of 43 people were staying in other shelters. And based on a lot of calls that were received from other agencies, we realized that not everyone is living on the streets, but they were not located that night when we were doing a count in our community. We also have an issue that we're facing in our community regarding rental assistance and rental assistance that's provided by some of our nonprofit agencies such as Lakeshore CAP. So between June and October of 2020, over $420,000 was spent helping individuals through the rental assistance program. And then between March of 2020 and current day, $476,000 was distributed to households through another separate rental program. Rental assistance applications to Lakeshore CAP increased by 51% between 2019 and 2020. This correlates also to those who are food insecure in that increase of 51%. There are other housing programs, including rapid rehousing, and each one of those programs has its own separate funding stream. You can see that in 2019, in the present timeline, the percentage of households that did not exit into permanent housing also increased. So the increase in percentage that did not exit into permanent housing indicates a lack of safe and affordable housing in our community. Right now, all of our shelters are at capacity, and recovery homes as well are at capacity. For the shelters who maintain wait lists, those wait lists also have increased since the pandemic. What you may notice actually in the shelter for the Haven is that there is a decrease in those who are currently sheltered. And the reason for that decrease is for maintaining COVID guidelines of less residents in their space. So again, we're at capacity. Encourage, which is serving victims of domestic abuse, sexual abuse, and trafficking, is at over 90% capacity. And, this is definitely causing another worry for our community as we are trying to address safe shelter for those in our community that experience domestic abuse. Lighthouse Recovery Community Center opened Horizons during the pandemic, and Horizons is currently full with 18 people on their wait list, and Chrisma will speak a little bit more to that program in just a moment. So as the Hunger and Housing coalitions have come together, we've started to identify some phases to our work and what can really transform our community long term. The very first and foremost issue is that combined in our wait list between the Haven and Hope House, nearly 100 individuals are seeking shelter. So opening a warming shelter is one short-term solution that could be easily obtained if we came together and worked collaboratively. We are looking at increasing our community meal offerings here in Manitowoc as well. First Presbyterian Church as well as Grow It Forward offers community meals. We're looking for better and more accessible storage options for surplus food resources. Currently, all of our pantries and community meal sites are at capacity for storage, and we're actually turning away food resources that are being offered to us because we don't have adequate storage to meet the needs of our community. We're also looking at increasing access to food for people with limited mobility and transportation barriers. Right now, there's a program that's existing in Milwaukee where individuals who are low-income seniors can actually have food resources delivered directly through their home utilizing a food delivery service. So it's a simple contract. We have technology and ways to improve food insecurity for those that need our food resources. We're also looking at a way to utilize technology to reduce barriers as well. Some individuals may not have access to a telephone. Maybe they have access only to the internet. And it also is another way with technology for us to manage our food resources more efficiently. Some additional solutions that we've identified between the Hunger and Housing Coalition is that we transition from emergency shelters to such as a warming shelter into more of the stable housing programs that currently exist. And within places like the Haven and the Hope House, it is not just an emergency shelter. This is really about transforming lives so that they have and become active, productive members of our society through the encouragement of those programs. It is a long-term relationship that our shelters have, and it's extremely important to the success of those who stay there. Also looking at long-term low-income housing such as Section 8 and Section 12. There are many properties right now here in Manitowoc that would serve as an ideal location for such housing properties or projects. And in fact, there are some organizations that have acreage of land right in the city of Manitowoc that could be utilized to help build facilities to help house long-term individuals in need. We're looking at developing some better transportation of our food items into rural communities such as mobile grocery stores. For those of you who live in the Valders area, certainly you recognize that your grocery store is no longer there. And for individuals who have limited transportation, a mobile grocery store may be your best option. Also looking at developing sustainability plans for agencies that are primarily operated by individuals who are seniors or volunteer-led. It's really critical to our organizations to think strategically in those type of organizations to ensure that for the long term we're able to care for our community. And we're also looking at expanding other programming such as financial literacy, health and nutrition education. So the Wisconsin Department of Revenue actually addresses the type of funding that the American Rescue Plan can be utilized for. Certainly if anybody needs a link to this direct document or other pieces from the Wisconsin Department of Revenue, we'd be happy to share that with you. And as I mentioned earlier, there are several counties that have many different ways of addressing their community's needs through the American Rescue Plan Act. There's specific guidance from the Wisconsin County Association, and then there are examples of how some of the counties are actually utilizing specific grant opportunities for nonprofits. The Housing and Hunger Coalition is more interested in the funding aspect of collaborative projects rather than funding individual projects, so that there is a bigger impact to our community that has long-term impact and effect. Certainly, I'm sure every single nonprofit in our community would love just a blanketed grant process of receiving, let's just say, $10,000 apiece. But collectively, if let's just say 10 nonprofits received a collaborative amount of $100,000, we may be able to do more. Now, $100,000 is not what we're looking for. There's certainly more that we could utilize between our nonprofits to have long-term impact. But these are just some examples. So our ask is really that the county board looks at prioritizing collaborative long-term solutions that are not only addressing our local social organizations' response to COVID-19 and also our current needs, but support our Hunger and Housing Coalition's collaborative effort to end future food insecurity and provide stable housing and shelter solutions in Manitowoc County. With that, I'm going to give the mic over to Chrisma, and I thank you for your time.
Hello everyone. I always get excited when I'm in a room full of public servants, so thank you for this opportunity to share a real life example of economic development that's been happening here in Manitowoc County for just under 3 years. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chrisma Rush. I am the founder and director of Lighthouse Recovery Community Center. I myself am in long-term recovery from substance use disorder since 2005. And our mission at Lighthouse is to empower those individuals seeking recovery from substance use disorder. We do this by offering education, recovery support services, and resources in a safe and social atmosphere, honoring all pathways to recovery. Lighthouse was divinely inspired. I don't say that lightly. It's a God-given mission for me. And it was birthed from a passion fueled by a lot of sadness and a lot of anger, hugging my friends' parents at funerals, and watching people fall through the cracks when there were not enough resources for individuals struggling with addiction here in Manitowoc County. So what does Lighthouse do? We've been following our mission, but before I get to that, I want to talk about how most people think of just addiction when we talk about recovery. But we will sell ourselves short if we stop there. The definition of recovery is to return to a normal state of health, mind, or strength. The action or process of regaining possessions or control of something lost or stolen. Well, that opens things up for a lot of us, doesn't it? We can recover from mental health. We can recover from domestic violence. We can recover from homelessness, recover from food disparity. We can recover from trauma, divorces, loss of loved ones. What does recovery reduce and save our community in the long run? It reduces criminal recidivism, hospital stays, and ER visits. It reduces the youth in our foster care systems. And missed days. It also reduces missed days at work and productivity. What does it increase? Employment, the health and well-being of individuals, school and college enrollment, and ultimately economic growth. Every decision we make has a ripple effect, good or bad. Let me share with you the economic growth that the Lighthouse has achieved in just under 3 years. In 2018, it started with me. I think that was the last time I was here to let you know that we were opening up an organization, a grassroots organization to help individuals, so you would know the resources for anybody that might need us. In 2019, we landed the CCS contract with the amazing partners that we have with Health and Human Services. In 2019, we also got the ED2 recovery grant with the state. In 2019, we trained 33 individuals with the recovery coach education. That's 4 days of training. Today, 17 of those individuals are working in the addiction recovery field, and 5 of them are working in the trade at a recovery-oriented construction company called Construction Maintenance and Repair. Even the name sounds like recovery. In 2020, we not only doubled in operation, but in assets. During the COVID shutdown in the spring of 2020, we had to add 3 staff just to keep up with the referrals coming in. We went from serving 36 individuals with direct services up to 62 in a very short amount of time. Thanks to the generosity of Marco Treatment Services, last September, we added recovery housing to our services. I don't think that's on the slides, huh? So today, just 1 year after opening up Horizons, in just under 3 years, our operating budget is now $550,000. And $300,000 of that is in wages to our staff alone. Our staff of 17. We went from 1 funding stream to 12. 10 of our staff have successfully reunited with their families and their children. 9 are state certified peer support specialists. Last week, Wednesday, a couple that works for us closed on their first home. And today I went to work and our CCS coordinator had bought a new car. This successful model can be used at Lighthouse is a model that every nonprofit in this community can build from. Collectively, the nonprofits have a vision to make this community healthier, stronger, safer, and more cohesive. 1 person at a time. When you invest in the people, they invest in our community. We have seen that in the recovery movement here, but I think that you have the opportunity to make a Manitowoc movement, investing in individuals and the nonprofits to do something much like we have done at Lighthouse. Thank you.
Thank you both, Amber and Chrisma. I don't know if, are you available if anybody of the supervisors have any questions right now? I don't know if anybody has any questions, but thank you both very much for your hard work, and definitely we'll be talking over the next several months about several things. So thank you once again. With that, I will open up to general public comment now. So if anybody wishing to speak to matter germane to Manitowoc County, just please raise your hand. You can come up and I'll allow you 3 minutes to speak. We'll start in the front row here. Yes. And just give your name and address.
Hi everyone. My name is Darian Kuderovic. I live at 802 South 28th Street in Manitowoc. A lot of what I have to say, I guess, they said, so I am not going to take too much time, but I really emphasize and echo everything that Amber and Chrisma said. It's my understanding, based off of listening to Be My Guest on WOMT and articles that I've read, that the county itself is going to get 2/3 of that Rescue Act money, and then the rest will be dispersed among the municipalities. And I just cannot say enough from the people that I've spoken with. I know that input has been requested from organizations and places in the county, but I don't think that that has happened for the citizens. And I know Bob said he wants to do the most good for the most people, and I think that's what we all want. And I think that Chrisma and Amber really highlighted a huge need that ultimately is going to positively impact our community if we address it. Because of the collaboration needed between all of those different places, I think that shows you that collaboration needs to happen, because homelessness impacts children at school, which can impact the academic gap that I've been hearing a lot about at school board meetings that needs to be addressed. So my ask of the supervisors is that I know, I think it's October 12th is when the budget's going to be presented to you guys, and the following month is going to be voted on. My ask is that you guys reach out to your constituents and see what they're talking about. Because the people that I've spoken to have concerns about homelessness, the food insecurity, housing stability, a huge childcare need that is preventing people from going to work, people that want to go to work, people that have been on wait lists at childcare centers for over a year. So again, I'm not going to go much further. I just wanted to echo what they said and ask that the constituents are talked to about this for what we all need. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your comments. Yes.
My name is Donna Furman. I'm the board president of Prevent Suicide Manitowoc County. A man came up to me a very short time ago when I was at a social event and drew me very close and whispered in my ear and said, "Donna, I have to talk to you." He said to me, "I was at one of your seminars and you told us that we needed to talk about suicide if we thought someone was going to take his life." And my son was acting very strangely, and I asked him, "Are you about to die by suicide? Are you going to commit suicide?" And my son said, "Yes, Dad, I'm going to take my life." That's how I know that our suicide prevention program works, because he intervened and his son didn't take his life, and he found treatment, and his son is doing fine now. This is how I know it works. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the position of health and well-being educator that is at the county extension office. That position is the linchpin in Prevent Suicide Manitowoc County's ability to deliver suicide education programs. I understand that it's going to be cut in favor of a full-time ag agent. In 2019, there were 20 suicides in Manitowoc County, tragically a 12-year high. The educator was hired in November 2019. In 2020, the suicide rate dropped to 9 deaths. In large part, our accomplishments were made possible by the contributions of the health and well-being educator. In that pandemic year, with her support, we trained over 500 county residents, including middle school and high school students, in suicide prevention techniques. The educator trained many of those herself. We quickly pivoted from in-person training to online training. We could have never done it without the resources of the Extension Office. We developed marketing collateral and a strategy to expand our reach in the county. We continued with her support to expand our programs to lost survivors, which we wouldn't have done without her support. Prevent Suicide Manitowoc County is an all-grassroots volunteer agency with an annual budget less than $20,000. Our prevention programs will grind to a halt without the health and well-being educator on our side and doing the vital work that we need her to do. The county proposes a cut of $20,000. Well, we cut the suicide rate by 11 deaths in 1 year. Do you see the ROI in that? Will your new ag agent save lives like your health and well-being educator does? We're out saving lives every day for the very low investment of $20,000, not even a rounding error in the county budget. Given the statistics, I know many of you have been impacted by suicide. I beseech you to take a good look at the county budget again. There must be a way to find $20,000 that doesn't impact life-saving measures. The simple truth is there is no way for us to continue our good life-saving work without this support. It just won't happen. We don't have the horsepower. It's a pity to let $20,000 stand in the way of saving lives. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your comments, Donna. Yes, way in the back.
evening. My name is Bob Desjardins. I live at 17624 Casma Road in Mishicot. While you may or may not agree with what I'm going to say this evening, I appreciate the liberty to express my thoughts to you. I'm here to request that the county board reestablish the Second Amendment resolution that was proposed back in the spring of 2020, and it was shelved because of the pandemic, and up it to be a constitutional sanctuary. This resolution will then include all inalienable rights described in the Constitution, and you will not be the first county to do this. On February 9th of this year, I came to this board and expressed concern about the actions by the governors and local officials that have been inconsistent, erratic, and in many ways worse than the virus itself. And now, 7 months later, and while the county has backed off, the federal government is putting pressure on citizens by fining employers with over 100 employees $14,000 for each unvaccinated employee. I guarantee you it will not stop there. 0 to 99 employees will be next. Then pensions and Social Security will be on the table. Vaccine passes are already required in New York and California. People are in fear over their economic welfare versus their liberties. And why are we talking about liberties being in jeopardy? This is the United States of America. I and many others believe it's a person's individual choice for their health care, and this is government overreach. My body, my choice. This is not just about the vaccine, however. Consider that the freedom to assemble and worship was taken from us over the last year. Communication on the internet is being removed for being misinformation and not fitting a certain narrative. Next, it'll be gun restrictions. Elected officials at all levels of government take an oath to office to protect and honor the Constitution of the United States. They are failing. One person on the city council in Two Rivers thought that their role on the council is limited to taking care of roads, parks, and funding the police and fire departments. Then why take the oath to protect the Constitution? Thomas Jefferson said, "The two enemies of the people are criminals and government. So let us tie the second down with the chains of the Constitution so the second will not become the legalized version of the first." I think we need bigger chains. Constitutional counties or cities may be symbolic at this time, but it sends a message to its citizens that local government is watching and ready to defend its citizens from unjust government overreaches. I thank you for listening.
Thank you for your comments, Bob. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Yes.
My name is Forrest Fave. I live at 4932 Highway 147 West, Maribel. I'm a constitutionalist, and I'm here to say that I am not for the mandates. I believe in our Constitution. I would like everyone here to take into consideration and to make Manitowoc County a constitutional sanctuary. I also want to point out other counties in our state are already a constitutional sanctuary. Portage County is one of them. If we were in a pandemic, why weren't people dying in their homes, and why did Manitowoc County experience the same average deaths in 2020 as any other year? Sure sounds to me like someone with a lot of money and a lot of power wants to scare the public so they can push their socialist ideologies on the American way of life. I know some of you will say this is about our health, and if that's so and you're going to blackmail us and try to force an experimental vaccine on us because it's for our health, then I have a few questions. Do you smoke? Do you drink alcohol? Do you exercise on a regular basis? Do you watch TV regularly? Do you eat healthy or eat candy or drink soda? If this experimental vaccine is about the public's health, then we need to start taking initiative into making our community healthier by mandating people to stop smoking or drinking immediately. No more candy bars or chips. Don't let your kids watch that tablet or watch TV because it changes the development of their brain. Let's start mandating daily exercise routines for the community. Being healthy is a lifestyle, and it is also a choice. Having our freedom to choose how we want to live our individual lives is protected by our Constitution. I know some of you might also say our hands are tied because this is what the federal government is pushing on us. Our hands are not tied. They're definitely not tied. Let me remind you, it's we the people We don't work for the government. They work for us. We don't need the government. They need us. It's we the people, and I'm telling you, we the people are fed up. Upholding our Constitution is not an opinion. It is our civil duty. This is not about Republicans versus Democrats or vaccinated versus unvaccinated. It is about totalitarian versus our Constitution. And all I want is for all of you to uphold what you took an oath to protect, our Constitution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments for us. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Yes, Margaret.
You're all in different spots than at the big room. Okay. I'm Margaret Pauls of rural Manitowoc. I'm here to address the members of the Personnel Committee, Supervisor Metzger, the Board of Health, and the entire Board of Supervisors. First, Supervisor Bauman. In response to your inquiry during the Personnel Committee, I will explain why the vaccines are such a big deal, even when military personnel is forced to be vaccinated. In the military, your clothing, residence, medical treatment, diet, and occupation are controlled by military command. That is the reason why we call this serving in the military. You take an oath to serve and obey. For the government to try and tell me, as a private citizen, how to care for my body, what to wear on my face, my occupation, and residence is wrong. I am responsible for making these decisions. This is the difference between a military state and our United States of America. Every citizen, county employee or otherwise, has these rights. Only two people on the Personnel Committee, Supervisor Banky and Supervisor Marshall, and I probably said your name wrong and I'm sorry, indicated support for even discussing as a complete board the resolution that the board will not attempt to control the medical decisions of county employees. I hope every citizen in our county reads the Martell for Manitowoc Facebook page and considers very carefully who is their supervisor and whether or not they should run for supervisor, especially those represented by the supervisors who let this resolution die in committee, and by the chair of the Board of Health. The fact that Supervisor Martell brought to Supervisor Metzger this resolution, who refused to put it on the agenda for the Board of Health, is obstructionist governing. A supervisor's job as chair is to lead decision-making by the board or committee, not censor your fellow supervisors and our Board of Health by making these decisions yourself. I sincerely hope the entire county board remembers this inexcusable conduct when sitting future board and community chairs and understands the County Board of Supervisors is to respect the rights of fellow supervisors, to bring items to the agenda. Thank you all for your time and service.
Thank you for your comments, Margaret. Anybody else wishing to speak to the board this evening? Yes, Maura. Oh,
I can move it for you if you need more. Yeah, go ahead, just close it.
just close it, yeah. You can put it on top. That'll be fine, yes. There we go.
Our nation hit an alarming benchmark yesterday. More than 675,000 Americans have died of COVID, more than died in the 1918 flu epidemic. Small white flags dot the 20 acres of Washington's National Mall in remembrance, up from last year's 267,000. That's an increase of 153% in a year. Roughly 1 in 5 Americans have died of COVID, with roughly 2,000 more dying daily. Notable anti-vaxxers who have died of COVID include Bob Einart, Dick Farrell, Jimmy DeYoung Sr., and Phil Valentine. Pope Francis recently said, quote, "Humanity has a history of friendship with vaccines." He chided Richland Center native and vaccine skeptic Cardinal Raymond Burke, who is now off of a ventilator and beginning a rigorous rehabilitation. In my view, it's deadly unfortunate that the existence of the coronavirus and how to avoid infection have become so politicized. But here we are, so I'm speaking to individual responsibility and community sentiment in reducing the spread of Delta. I know that there is a segment of our county community who distrust government and have decided not to be vaccinated or to follow other recommendations to decrease the spread of Delta. Although I disagree, I sincerely wish them well in their decision and hope that they and their family and friends don't endure Andre Jacques' experience. Senator Jacques' wife, Renee, asked, quote, that those individuals who are eligible and able to receive the COVID-19 vaccine please consider placing their trust in the medical professionals who recommend it. Vaccinated people are 8 times less likely to be infected and 25 times less likely to experience hospitalization or death. As of yesterday, Manitowoc County had 198 more cases than last week, and our positivity rate is 7.81%. The goal is to be less than 5%. Currently, 91% of Wisconsin's hospital beds are in use, and 93% of our ICU beds are in use. Have a heart attack, stroke, or serious traffic accident? A bed may not be available. There's a part of our community that is so busy keeping up with daily demands that they really don't have time or expertise to, quote, do your own research. Those are the folks I hope to persuade to take our local health department's advice. Get vaccinated, wear masks in public indoor settings, socially distance, clean and sanitize high-touch areas, washing hands often, and stay home if you're sick. The threat that the coronavirus poses to our county is very real. The Delta variant is more than 2 times as contagious as the previous variants and may cause more serious illness than earlier variants. Our entire state is designated as high transmission, the top category. Our belief in individual responsibility means making decisions not only in what we believe to be our own personal self-interest. It also means considering the impact on our community. Unvaccinated people who contract Delta spread it to children who can't yet be vaccinated and immune-compromised people like cancer patients.
Maura, you have about 30 seconds.
Thank you. Former President Jimmy Carter said, quote, our individual fates are linked, our futures are intertwined, and if we act in that knowledge and in that spirit together, as the Bible says, quote, we can move mountains. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Maura. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening? Yes.
is Kate Marquardt, and I guess I have to give you my address, 3223 County Road B. I didn't come here prepared to speak to you all, but I just wanted to echo a few things. I am the Supportive Housing Program Director at Lakeshore Community Action Program. My job deals entirely with state and federal funding to work with those experiencing homelessness in our community. And oftentimes when I tell people that's what I do, they don't think that I have like a real job, right? Like, because they don't think that homelessness is a thing in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. And I'm here to tell you that it is. I was at a presentation pre-COVID, and the first question that the presenter said is, what causes homelessness? I thought that was a really interesting question, right? So people kind of started randomly sharing what they thought caused homelessness. Domestic violence, addiction, lack of employment, all of those kinds of things. Well, the answer to what causes homelessness is lack of homes, right? So I would respectfully request that you consider using the ARPA dollars that are coming through the county to work towards bettering Manitowoc County by providing homes, housing assistance, and support for the most vulnerable in our community. Back to kind of what Chrisma had said earlier, and Amber, with regard to how homelessness, we can tell you, we have data, like I can give you data all day long about how many people are impacted by COVID. And when I tell you that I supervise the staff of 11 who are currently dealing with homelessness, either through those who are currently experiencing homelessness, meaning literally living outside in our community, or trying to prevent people from becoming homeless because of the pandemic. Again, I just request that you would consider using some of those funds to help us provide support, assistance, and resources, and advocate for those most vulnerable in our community. Thank you. I'd also just add, my uncle Don-in-law used to be the county board chairman for many years, so.
I was wondering with the last name, yes. Very good man. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your comments, Kane. And like I said, very good man. Most of us served with Don for many years, so thank you again. Is there anybody else wishing to speak this evening to the county board? Is anybody else wishing to speak? And for a third and final time, anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing none, I'll declare public comment closed at this time. We're going to go, there's no communications, we're going to go to unfinished business from our last meeting to discussion and possible action on county executive's veto of resolution number 2021, 2022, 23, establishing county executive compensation for 2022, 2026 term. If you recall, the Personnel Committee brought a resolution establishing the county executive's salary for the next 4 years. It passed, if I remember correctly, on a 22-2 vote, or 20. I know there was two people that didn't support it. Anyways, after that discussion, County Executive Bob Ziegelbauer did veto the resolution. I decided, since it had a lot of support, and I guess people wanted to talk, I asked Susie Marsh, who was the chair of the Personnel Committee who brought it forward. I asked her opinion, and she was in favor of bringing it back for discussion to override. So that's where we're at. So if anybody wants to entertain I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution. So motion by Supervisor Marsh. Is there a second to override the veto? Seconded by Supervisor Vogt. All right, we will discuss the override. I'll open up for discussion. Supervisor Marsh, we'll go to you first.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate, if we go another 4 years, then we're looking at really falling behind, because 4 years ago, this was, we have a plan in how we go about the elected officials' salaries. So just would encourage that, so in 4 years, if this does not pass, we will be very far behind the 8 ball on the salary for the county exec. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Marsh. Supervisor Ballman, you are next.
Yeah, I agree with Supervisor Marsh. We can't look at this as something that Bob likes or dislikes. This is a motion for the person in to keep up with time. So if something, say Bob doesn't get reelected or something happens to him, we have to find a suitable replacement. We need to pay that individual, and it's going to be too late if we don't override this veto, so I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Baumann. Supervisor Hagan, you were next.
To clarify, the people who actually pick the county, if I'm wrong, but that would be the voter, the taxpayers. The taxpayers don't get mandatory raises. We have a situation right now where we have the homeless people helping out homeless, looking for money, but we're ramming through a 5% raise that the executive doesn't want. Picture that in your mind if you're a taxpayer. Now vote.
Thank you, Supervisor Hagan. I guess I'm going to chime in once again because I was emphasizing. I want to re-emphasize we are not voting Bob Zigabauer a salary increase. We are voting or potentially voting the increase for the position of county executive. We have to remember that. And while I certainly sympathize with what you're saying, Supervisor Hagan, the discussion that Amber and Krista brought up is certainly worthwhile to discuss, and we can certainly discuss that. And their portion, I guess, if they're asking for money, and I know they stopped short of that, but if we decide to do that, that'll become through our money that's already been allocated. I guess I'll be curious to see, and I'm digressing here, but regarding that portion, we'll see what Bob has in his budget for 2022, and we can go from there. Thank you. Supervisor Dizek, you are next.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess I wasn't here for the discussion last month, but I looked into it, and I understand there was a resolution or an amendment to make it a 2%. I would like anybody in here to tell me if they got a 5% raise in the last God knows how many years. 5% is not what the raise we're giving people. And I believe some of the basis was they haven't had a significant raise for the position for over 4 years. I understand it's not for Mr. Zigabauer, it's for the position. But I think he's in the position and he understands what the pay should be a little more than we do. 2%, which is pretty much what everybody's getting in all the departments. I think we got a sheriff's resolution in here today also. I bet they ain't getting 5%. I can't support the veto override because if we come back with something reasonable, I would understand it. But I just think 5% is unreasonable at this time. Thank you.
Supervisor Dizek. Supervisor Aulick, you were next.
Mr. Chair, I think when you're looking at this, what's in front of us, you're looking at the entire organization. We have a worst economic recessions we've ever had, the elected officials of the county gave back their pay raises. They gave them back. I've done things where I go play Army for 2 weeks and I double dip. I took my county pay, and if you ever looked at the north entrance of the courthouse, there's on the wall there all the county executives, well, there's only one, there is two that we've had so far, and the county board chairs. And that was all paid out of donation back to the county. So there's options here. There's ways of dealing with this, but I think the main part of this is the fact that we have to keep the integrity of our pay plan within the organization. If someone thinks that they're making too much or what have you, that's fine. I totally get that point of view, but there's other options, is all I'm saying. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Aulick. Supervisor Marsh, you were next.
Thank you, Supervisor Aulick, for your words, because that was pretty much what I wanted to say, because it does go back very far. And in 4 years from now, when we try and even out more, and then we did only do 2%, then it's so far behind, so far behind. There's a reason that we set this in motion. There's a reason it's 5% now. It's because 4 years ago we didn't do due diligence to what this personnel committee was bringing forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Marsh. Any other discussion on the motion? Just quickly, thank you again for all the input, and Supervisor Aulick as well, we're discussing, because that was a good memory from 2010 when all the constitutional officers donated money back, and if I recall, the city members of the county board, with the exception of one, also donated money back as well. So understandable, but I once again reemphasize that we're doing the position of county executive, not a certain individual. And I guess just for semantics, so to make sure that we need 2/3 vote, but not of members present, is 2/3 of the entire body. So there's 3 absent tonight, but we need to override a veto, we need 17 votes. So with that, I will call Jessica. We'll do the vote.
Supervisors will now vote to override veto on Resolution 2021-2022-23 establishing county executive compensation for 2022 to 2026 term.
Well, now it's kind of late, but. So the motion passed 18-4 with Supervisors Vogt, Falkowski, Dizak, and Hagan voting no. So the salary is set for the county executive for the next 4 years. All right, thank you for all those involved with that. I know it was a tough discussion, but I think it worked out for the best. All right, now we'll go on to appointments by the county executive for the local emergency planning committee to appoint 1 member to fill a vacancy for a 2-year term expiring in September of 2023. And the recommendation is for David Funkhauser. Motion by Supervisor Ballman, second by Supervisor Aulick to appoint David. Any discussion on the motion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried, and the appointment is approved. Thank you very much. Committee reports. We'll start with Aging and Disability Boards. Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bright. We did have a meeting today in this room. A lot of discussion on the 2022 budget that Kim and Wendy put together. So everybody was on board with what that was doing. Our next meeting will be November 23rd in Kewaunee County. That's the end of my report.
All right, any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger is the chair.
We did not meet this month, but we have a resolution in front of us. The ordinance amending Manitowoc County Code 7.14, Health Officer, and repealing Manitowoc County Code 7.15, Donations and Gifts, and I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Metzger, second by Supervisor Nichols. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending Manitowoc County Code Section 7.14 Health Officer and repealing Manitowoc County Code Section 7.15 Donations and Gifts.
Supervisor Marsh, want to try once again? That's all right, that's all right. Ordinance passes 22-0. Anything else, Supervisor Metzger?
That's the end of my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, Supervisor Falkowski is one of our representatives there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening. The meeting of the Manitowoc County Criminal Justice Coordinating Council was September 1st. The League of Women Voters complimented the county's corrections office and others for assisting those in custody who retained the right to vote and to exercise that right during the recent elections. It was announced that Mr. Lefta will submitted his resignation effective of October 1st. He will be leaving to join the State Treatment Court's office. He's been credited with the implementation and success of our drug court program. The drug court graduation ceremonies are continuing. There are 28 program graduations and one new graduate, 1+ returning candidate to be resubmitted to the program. The meeting continues to grow and work to support the participants. A recent newspaper article prompted questions about the phone costs of inmates. As a courtesy, Ms. Brexit from the Corrections Office then discussed costs incurred by inmates when making calls out of the jail. She wanted to share that much of the article induced an incorrect conclusion and that it did not apply to Manitowoc County. The effort is to keep the charges down for inmates. Also, any proceeds received from calls are expended for inmates' benefits and not for the part of the sheriff's budget. The council entertained the topic for informational purposes only. The next meeting date for the CJCC is November 3rd, and that is my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Supervisor Falkowski? Thank you very much. Executive Committee, I have nothing at this time. Expo Center Board, Supervisor Kavanaugh is one of our representatives on the Expo Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Wednesday, September 8th, Janelle, our manager, reported that they're working on making the payments right now for all the judges. Jerry reported that repairs are going to be made to the ground starting the week after that by the Highway Department. The attendance at the fair was surprisingly really high considering the weather we had to go through. A little over 42,000 attended, very comparable to 2019. On Saturday alone, there was over 13,000 that were there. The ice is going to be going into the Ice Center October 1st. We will have the state convention coming up January 9th through the 12th at the Chula Vista and Wisconsin Dells, and there'll be at least 4 to 6 members that will be attending. And our next meeting will be Wednesday, October 13th. That concludes my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Kavanaugh? Thank you very much. Finance Committee, Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bry. Finance met a week ago Monday after our bookkeeping business of minutes and signing off on bills from last month. We got an update from the executive on the budget coming in. We'll get that next month. A few things to look for in there, and we're looking at about a 2% salary increase. But remember that within that plan that they work so hard on, people have an opportunity for 2% more if they get good valuations and outstanding valuations. So, you know, there's opportunity out there to go above that 2% to a possibility of 4%. We're also looking for additional staff in the Sheriff's Department and in Human Services. Most of the Human Services positions will get some state, federal help on funding those. But Sheriff's Department and Human Services are looking for help with different opioid problems that we're having in the county. And another thing that I thought was real positive, and I compliment the executive on this, is he's looking at working with the cities of Manitowoc, Traverse, and Kiel to use some of that ARPA funding to possibly do some work on replacing lead laterals to homes. And along with that, looking at ways then to expand some of that county help, not just to the cities, but other things we can do in some of the towns and villages and townships to use that money. As long as it came in, let's see if we can find a purpose for it that way. So I do give him credit for that, to working with the different units of government within the county. As far as official things we have to do, we have a resolution tonight denying a claim. The claim should be in your packet, or you were emailed that. Corporation Counsel informed the committee when he presented it to us on Monday night, because it deals with the Human Services Department and some confidentiality things, we can't say a whole lot about it. But the county is going with the insurance company. This is what we do for everything, and we're denying that claim. So I move to deny the claim.
So motion by Supervisor Hanson, seconded by Supervisor Aulick. Discussion on the motion. See none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution denying the claim for Casey Rupp.
Supervisors Ballman, and there we go, and Hagan, if you want to try once again, there we go. Resolution passed 21 to 1 with, I'm sorry, 21 to 1, I'm sorry, let's start over again. The resolution passed 21 to 0 with 1 abstention, with Supervisor Hagan abstaining. There we go, we got her. Back to you, Supervisor Hanson.
That's all the official report. It is budget time, and Bob is coming to the committee with his budget next month. If there are things that you are concerned about or budget items that you would like to see, please contact me or any other member of the committee, or talk to Bob at this time, because he's putting that together. So other than that, Mr. Chair, I'm done.
Any questions for Supervisor Hanson? I'm sorry, Supervisor Hagan.
Yeah, has our sheriff reached out to you about the fiscal issues and potential future employment problems within the sheriff's department?
Well, we did talk about the positions that he would like to see in the budget.
Okay.
And that is going through the executive, and he'll present that in a month.
Okay, I just want to make sure it's getting
Yep.
in the works. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hagan. Anyone else? Questions or comments for Supervisor Hanson? All right, thank you very much. Highway Committee, Supervisor Benke is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We met September 14th, and a number of different items that we were talking about. Airport land lease goes back to when Supervisor Aulick was the clerk, and we're trying to get these land leases in coordination that we kind of can do them all at one time. In this particular lease, we're getting roughly $150 an acre. We'll take that money and run at that price. So our land leases are relatively good that we're trying to get put together. We also talked about a control access on XX. There was a group that wanted to have access off of XX. Commissioner Grodiget had the DOT come in and do a study there, so we're denying that because of the safety reason on that. I like that procedure, having somebody professionally come in and take a look at the distances from that intersection in question. We talked about the 2022 construction schedule. We talked about the 5-year construction schedule as well. Supervisor Grodiget, or Commissioner Grodiget, talked about the high-risk rural roads on County JJ. We had a company come in for free and do the design of different safety things that we could do on JJ. And if we would have went out to other professionals to fix some of those things, would have been quite expensive. There's a number of things that Greg had talked that had our people do, and for a substantial cost savings, and plus taking care of some of those safety issues. So I commend him on that. We talked about on County T, a tile line that could be a problem down the road. I hate to say, pun intended, but the line kind of runs down the road, under the road, and there could be some real challenges with addressing that tile line through the future. It's a clay tile. We may have to do something creative to avoid that tile under the road. We talked about staffing update. Commissioner Grodiget talked about we're pretty good. We got some employees back, a few that had left and had come back, and plus a few that we filled.
Still challenge on the maintenance mechanic positions that we're trying to fill, that skill level position. That still is a challenge, but that is getting better as well. We talked about the 2021 fall safety training. I brought this up in the past where we have this kind of rodeo with the operators operating all the equipment that they operate, getting ready for winter, having some special speakers come in and talk about safety. Safety is important with the highway department. I mean, we're driving some pretty big equipment. We are out there on pretty busy roads, and safety cannot be talked about enough. And I like that approach. I think the committee likes that approach to having that safety training every fall, getting ready for that winter season as it's coming down the line. We talked about overtime and past the vouchers. We will meet October 12th prior to the county board meeting at 5:30 here, probably downstairs. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Banky? Thank you very much. Human Services Board, Supervisor Hendrickson is the chair.
I'm going to request Supervisor Kavanaugh do the report, please.
Okay. All right, we will go to Supervisor Kavanaugh.
Thank you. We actually had 2 meetings on Thursday, October 26th. The first one was the budget hearing meeting. There were 3 people that commented during this time. One referred to the, well, she spoke tonight to us also on the prevention of suicide of Manitowoc County. She said that middle-aged men are the more likely ones to have the problems, and she'd like to see more mental health funding in the future. Another person talked about the drug problem in the county, and she'd like to see the drug court continue. And the third person talked about the alcohol problems in the county and said this is a problem not just for the person, that naturally it affects the whole family, and this has to be considered. Then we went into our main meeting. Our education topic was by Lori Furr. She talked about the state opioid grant that she's applying for $908,000 this year for the opioid and meth work with the families and also substance abuse. Patricia Dodge gave the financial report showing a surplus prediction through the end of the year of $68,144, but this could really change before that time if we had some bad mental health cases that had to be sent to some of the expensive hospitals. So, and also she talked about the staffing situation. Right now there's 4 openings. Detention report was noted. There's been $12,090 paid out so far for the first 7 months of this year, which shows we made a heck of a good decision years back when we went with Sheboygan there. And our next meeting will be this Thursday, September 23rd at at about 4:45, and that concludes my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Kavanaugh? Thank you very much. Land Conservation Committee, UW Extension Education and Agricultural Committee, Supervisor Wagner is the chair.
Thank you, Chairman Bryan. At the Soil and Water, we got the impression that there's going to be another round of applicants for the ag educator, and so we won't know that till when that happens. The next meeting will be November 18th at the County Office Complex for the Land Conservation Committee. The Extension, Education, and Agriculture Committee, they are going to be moving their office to the UW Green Bay Manitowoc campus off of Vebon Road. And the ag educator will be located in the offices by the Soil and Water. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner? Thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Supervisor Marish is the chair.
Thank you. We met on September 7th. The proposed resolution prohibiting mask and vaccine compulsion in Manitowoc County was discussed and it was a consensus of the committee to not advance that. As Supervisor Wagner said, the status of the recruitment for the agriculture educator position was reopened because of the lack of applicants the first time around. So we're hoping and hoping. A motion to approve the request for authorization to offer a starting salary above midpoint for the CCS program supervisor was made because of the not being able to hire. The position remains vacant, and so we needed to offer a salary that exceeds midpoint, and that passed our committee. Also, I have a resolution. The resolution approving settlement of 2022-2023 collective bargaining agreement with the Sheriff's Office employees represented by Wisconsin Professional Police Association. I so move.
So motion by Supervisor Marsh, second by Supervisor Ballman to approve or adopt the resolution. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution approving settlement of 2022-2023 collective bargaining agreement with the Sheriff's Office employees represented by the Wisconsin Professional Police Association.
The resolution passed 22-0. Anything else, Supervisor Marsh?
Just our next meeting is October 5th at 4:15.
Any questions for Supervisor Marsh? Thank you very much. Planning and Park Commission, Supervisor Dysek is the chair.
Mr. Chairman, we met August 23rd. We had 2 public hearings on rezone requests, and ordinances will follow. We then had discussion on various variance requests for the Cortons Family Farm. The variance and proposed certified survey map were approved. Discussion shifted to the fee increases for 2022, and after much discussion, it was decided to hold a public hearing at the next Planning and Park meeting, which will be on September 27th. Mr. Ryan then informed commissioners that they decided to host a disc golf tournament on October 3rd at Silver Creek Park instead of at Cato Falls. The commission then approved 2 out-of-county trips. And then for the ordinances, first for Steve and Laurie Dill to rezone approximately 8 acres from exclusive ag to large estate. The area to be considered for rezoning meets past criteria for rezoning from exclusive ag. The Liberty Town Board and Planning Commission supports the rezone, and the rezone will allow for the establishment of a single-family home. The area proposed for rezoning, since it's exclusive ag, has minimal farmland and is comprised primarily of woodlands and wetlands, and I move for its approval.
So motion by Supervisor Dysek, second by Supervisor Falkowski. Discussion on the ordinance. Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Steve and Lori Dill.
Ordinance passed 22-0.
Thank you. Next, we have a rezone request from Robert Jock to rezone approximately 4.03 acres from large estate to lake residential, and approximately 3.28 acres from large estate to small estate. The area to be considered for rezone meets the past criteria for large estate. The Schleswig Town Board and Planning Commission supports the change, and the rezone will allow additional land to be added to adjacent parcels and creation of a building lot, and I move for its approval.
So motion by Supervisor Dysek, seconded by Supervisor Hagan. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will now conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the ordinance amending zoning map for Robert Jock.
Ordinance passed 22-0.
Thank you. As I mentioned, our next meeting will be on September 27th, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Dizak? Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Nichols is the chair.
Thank you. The Public Safety Committee met on Wednesday, September 8th. Sheriff Hartwig presented a number of items to the committee. We'll start with patrol. Patrol overtime is slightly over budget. However, the revenues are up $17,000 in that area. Staffing is in good shape, although like everybody else, and we've heard it tonight, finding applicants is very challenging, and then with the requirements that they have at the Sheriff's Department, there are very few that make it through that list. There are only 7 reserve deputies, which limits revenue in that area. And then on to equipment. Squad cameras were purchased for $86,000. Ammunition is still on back order. It was ordered. It may not arrive until 2022. Contracted services are in line. That's good. And then just in regard to equipment is getting tight with increased costs and with some backlogs in it. In addition, cell phones were purchased for all the officers. Then we move on to the jail. Revenues are good there. The state pays us $52 a day for inmates. And normal intake for state inmates isn't going to occur until 2022. The jail capacity is 199. We currently average about 150. And just in regard to COVID, there's no COVID cases in the jail population, at least not as of September 8th. But jail staffing is down 2 positions, and again, hiring is challenging. Overtime in jail is going real well because there were some changes to the scheduling, and that's worked out really well. The visitation renovation that is going, or is planned and going on, is kind of still on hold due to lack of materials. And then just a couple other things. Pause for Laws, which is the 501c3 organization, is supporting the Sheriff's Department K-9 unit. And then just speaking of the budget, the 2022 budget for the Sheriff's Department will be very tight. Training's expensive. They have some needs. I think Supervisor Hanson mentioned that. Also, we normally purchase the vehicles that usually is brought to the committee in the late fall, but those had to be ordered earlier so that they could get them. But it appears that those vehicles, 8 of them, will arrive, unlike a lot of other departments which may not get the vehicles that they're looking for. Other than that, our next meeting is scheduled for October 12th prior to the county board meeting, and that's all I have.
Any questions for Supervisor Nichols? Thank you very much. Public Works Committee, Supervisor Droll is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No meeting, no report.
No questions for Supervisor Droll? Thank you very much. Transportation and Coordinating Committee, Supervisor Bowman is the chair. He informed me he had no report, but if anybody has any questions for him, now's the time. All right, thank you very much. Under miscellaneous, we have one thing from the Special Committee on number of apportionment of County Board Supervisor Districts. We have a resolution adopting the tentative supervisory district plan. So motion by Supervisor Hendrickson, seconded by Supervisor Sikowitz to adopt the plan. Discussion. Supervisor Dizak.
Probably a point of clarification. It's tentative because the census stuff isn't complete yet?
No, I guess I'll defer to the Corporation Council. They can give a better explanation than I can, but.
It's tentative because it needs to go to the municipalities for their review.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And that was a good question, Supervisor Dizak, because that's why the process was, it wasn't delayed as much as we expected, because we were expecting numbers even waiting until September, but they came a little bit earlier. So, and I guess I was going to give a shout out to Planning and Park, especially Mark and Andrea, who helped with this plan and designed this plan over numerous plans and numerous discussions of this committee. So thank you both, and for the whole department, thank you very much. You guys did a great job. Did I say Mark? I'm sorry. I meant Matt. I apologize. It seems in this room. Thank you, Jessica. Well, but regardless of your names, you guys did a great job. A very great job. So. Any other discussion on the motion? Supervisor Martell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I can vote on this, there's a few things that I need to understand about why some of the decisions were made. I guess my philosophy in looking at our districts would be to maintain constancy for as many voters as possible. And just for some clarification for the public, I attended, I think, most of the meetings, despite not being on the committee for number and apportionment of county supervisory districts. There were basically, the way we looked at this was that there were two parts, the county rural part and the city of Manitowoc. So on the county rural plan, I guess one of the things that just jumped out at me, just looking at it visually, is some of the changes in District 15 and 18, where the town of Rockland moved into District 18 and the village of Valders moved into District 15. I guess I'd like to gain an understanding of why approximately 1,000 voters in each district are just being changed between the two, where many of the other districts look at least to be more tinkering around the edges and appearing the same. And then I've also looked at the city of Manitowoc. I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it with some of the changes, but I have concern with how many voters will be changing their representation, not only for county supervisor, but for their alderperson in the city of Manitowoc, if the city of Manitowoc accepts this proposal, particularly in District 2, in District 6, and in District 8. It seems to be a lot of neighborhoods and people changing. Looking at the proposed plans from the committee, when I looked at Plan B for the city of Manitowoc, it seemed almost the same as what we had before, with a few minor changes. And I understand that part of the reason why we made these changes were because of an increased population in District 2. So I guess before I'd feel comfortable voting on this, I would have to have an understanding of why the decision to, from my perspective, radically change the district layout, especially for the city of Manitowoc and for Districts 18 and 15 in the county.
I guess I'll speak, portion, for the city portion of it. I guess you hit the nail on the head when you said the population change. There was a big population switch in District 2. And I don't think the districts are that, radically changed as opposed to we are right now. I guess personally, I don't think that. I do like the consistency, but I shouldn't say unfortunately, but during a census and a redistricting plan, that's what the word redistricting means. There's gonna be shifts. I mean, I've been doing it, this is my third one now. My district has shifted 2 blocks west a few times and actually ramped the middle of my street one time. But for the most part, it's consistent. And I know there's gonna be some voter confusion, but I think with the clerk's offices of each community and definitely with the county, we can work through those problems. And I think they're very minimal, to be honest with you. I don't know if Matt and Andrea want to talk, or if somebody wants to talk about 15 and 17, I guess in the rural area. Or actually, I'll defer to Supervisor Aulick first.
Excellent questions. And I'll tell you, having done this, one of the tricks is you start in one area and you work through your census blocks, and as you kind of build your map, all of a sudden you get, oh, what am I going to do over here? And then it's like, okay, well, we're going to have to shift it over here a little bit. And you're exactly right, Mr. Chairperson. At least, now, my employer, Keel, is small enough to where if someone is changing representation or a different supervisor, we can easily send out a postcard saying, hey, you got a new supervisor in your district, not a big deal. And, the town clerks are great. They, I don't know if they would do the same thing, but anyway, yeah, when you look at like a District 18 and 15, I'm sure as they were working their way through census blocks, and that western part of the county, almost top to bottom, those 4 towns in Keel, for whatever reason, our county population is shifting that way, and that's kind of where you're going to start seeing in those rural areas a little more change than you'd see in like the central or the eastern areas. But I would absolutely agree, Mr. Chair. I would commend both Matt and Andrea in taking what is an absolutely thankless process that's foisted upon you every 10 years and, doing as best as they can with what they have. And no map is going to be perfect. No map that we ever have in the future, in the past, is going to be perfect. But you got to do the best you can with what you got. And I guess I would say, personally, I'm comfortable with this plan. I can look at, my employer, the city of Kiel, and I can work within there. And I've already begun that process to create our aldermanic districts in there, which is the next step. And come back after, in particular, the city of Manitowoc, where they're looking at their wards. They got to build wards within these districts, and so does Kiel. Two Rivers is at large, so wards don't matter quite as much there. But anyway, and come back and have a final plan and work within this one. I think it's a very workable tentative plan.
Thank you, Supervisor Olick. I guess to touch on a little bit too, if this plan passes, or Andrea, please come up to the podium, please. Yes.
Okay, so I assume the mic is on. Okay, so I believe it's 15 and 18. So before, the town of Cato included the villages of Whitelaw and Valders as one supervisory district. Right now, that had way too much as a population. So we try not to split a village into multiple districts, and we try and keep them together. Well, to do that, there is a huge amount of population in Valders, and there's quite a bit in Whitelaw, so the town of Rockland probably has not as much as what one of those villages does. So that's why you can almost take a whole township and get rid of a village without splitting that village. The other problem was with Supervisory District 2, the new apartments that are on Johnson Drive. Census blocks are not true blocks in every sense. We have one census block in the town or in section or District 2, I believe had 744 people. We can't split a census block. So it kind of limits us to where we can work. What we try to do is work with like boundaries. So if we can say the railroad tracks is a good, divider line, people know south of the railroad tracks is this my district, instead of saying, why are you across the street this in a cul-de-sac? And, so we try and keep it so condensed that it follows some kind of boundary. And it's hard to work with when you have 200 and 700 census blocks that we can't split. So that's the explanation for why 2 changed so much and why town of Cato cannot include the village of Valders and Whitelaw all as one district. So if anybody else has any questions, I can try and answer them.
Supervisor Martell?
Thank you. And again, everybody said it, but to thank you for this job because it's very difficult. My degree is in political science, and so part of my undergraduate work was talking about districting and gerrymandering and doing some of this and the decisions that have to be made and how districts are drawn, and it could be one house. I think one of the plans, even one of the struggles with it, was that one house would be identified with their ballot. So I commend the amount of work that went into this. I guess, in your opinion, with Plan A and B for the city, which one of them, and I guess this wouldn't be an opinion, you'd be able to verify it, which one of those plans moves the least amount of voters in the city of Manitowoc and changes the representation?
I guess to see them next to each other, I don't know for sure until I have them right up. I mean, that big section may have been in B, might have kept more than there, but then it was, this side of this cul-de-sac is in and this one cul-de-sac is, but, so it's more based off of, you know, little loops that just went, so. But
Okay.
for voters, yeah, it could be washed one way to the other, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you Supervisor Martell. Anybody else got questions for Andrea while she's up here? All right, back to them, I guess, the motion. Any other discussion on the motion? Just quickly before we vote on it, Jessica prepared this timeline, and I think everybody's got a copy of it. I'm just going to read kind of the highlights right now. If this passes here tonight, Jessica, as county clerk, will send a tentative plan to all the local units. Hopefully by October 18th of this year, the local units will provide award plans to the county. October 25th, which I'll be talking about as well, that'll be the annual meeting of the county board. We'll also meet as a special committee on a number of county board supervisory districts to take action on the final plan and public hearing on the final supervisory district plan, and if that goes well.
Actually, we'll change this
Oh.
over, because we're gonna actually vote on the final plan and have the public hearing on the 25th. The special committee's gonna be the 18th.
Okay.
This isn't a time.
Okay, so, yeah, Jessica, we're gonna have the special committee meet on October 18th, assuming everything's right, and then actually have the public hearing at our annual meeting, and I guess a special, or I should say a final vote on that as well. And if everything goes well there, then it resumes the normal process. December 1st, nomination papers can go out for, I guess, you know, in this case, the county board of supervisors. So, all right, any other discussion? I guess, you know, one good, you know, I already gave my thanks because there was a lot of hard work done from excuse me, Matt and Andrea. But a good example would be this, to send this, and maybe just all counties involved in, well, maybe this should be sent down to Madison, and maybe they could talk about how the counties do redistricting. And I know it's partisan and down in Madison, but it's gotten to the point it's ridiculous. This is, I mean, it's a smooth process here. It worked great. None of that stuff was taken into consideration. So once again, wonderful job, awesome job. With that, I will ask the clerk to take the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution adopting the tentative supervisory district plan.
The resolution passed 21-1 with Supervisor Mink voting no. So the process will continue, and we'll get some feedback from the municipalities, and we'll see on the 18th as the special committee will take all that into consideration and bring something final to the county board on the 25th. Thank you all again for being involved with this. So to go to the next portion before we adjourn, as I mentioned, we'll go first Tuesday. In October, we'll have two county board meetings. Tuesday, October 12th, 6:30 p.m. Oh, Supervisor Metzger, you had something first?
Have
Okay,
something.
I'll go after I'm done. So we'll be meeting October 12th. At that meeting, it'll be a normal meeting, but also County Executive Bob Bauer will be presenting his proposed 2022 budget at that meeting. And now, as mentioned too, the annual meeting will be Monday, October 25th, 6:30 p.m., and we'll be here, obviously, and we'll have other discussion things as well. So just remember, two meetings, both at 6:30. The second one is on Monday, though. All right, any questions on that? Thank you. Supervisor Metzger, you had an announcement.
Yes, I serve on the Lakeshore CAP Board. I'm appointed by the county exec, but there's never anything on the agenda for me to speak. So tonight we had several people talking about the ARPA, that they would like some money for the food insecurity, for the warm housing, suicide, for the health and well educator, Grow It Forward, and Lakeshore CAP would like to work together on some of this stuff. I really think that we should look at trying to get some money for this. I would hope that the supervisors would think seriously on getting something formed to help these causes. Lakeshore CAP does help, like with Human Services, with a lot of their stuff that they send people to us. And, you know, we do a lot of fundraisers, not so much now with epidemic that we have, but now we get federal money. That is going to run out, eventually, and we do need warm housing. We're trying to think of a place, and the only thing I could come up with, and this may sound really kind of far out of but I thought even the expo grounds, they have that big merchant building in the middle of winter. Sure would be nice if we could help, have some help for Lakeshore Cap and grow it forward and other ones that are going to try and help us with this with the coalition. So I would like us to take this seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Metzger. And I guess in the future too, if you want to report on Lakeshore Cap, just let me know at least a week in advance, so we can certainly add it to the agenda under Board of Health, or at least separate, so
Okay.
don't be afraid to ask me about that. That'd be no
Thank you.
problem there. Anything else at this time? Seeing none, I'll accept the motion to adjourn. Motion by Supervisor Droll, second by Supervisor Dysek. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe trip home.